The new champion, Rolando Romero, talks mad ish about Saul Canelo Alvarez. He says that he is a disgrace to Mexican boxing. And in the same interview with Fight Hype, he also calls out David Benavidez, but not at 175, at 168. But I would take that with a grain of salt, because Rolly Romero does talk a lot of ish and he does say a lot of crazy stuff. I remember when he was fighting at 135 and at 140, he says that he wanted to go up and fight Errol Spence at 147. Now, to me, that is way more believable than going up 3 weight classes to fight David Benavidez at 168. And we already know David Benavidez fights at 175. So that's really 4 weight classes. So going up to fight Errol Spence is way more believable than going up in weight to fight David Benavidez, because at that time, Rolly Romero was still growing and he was actually growing up to welterweight. It also seems that Rolly will cap out at welterweight, or a max, he will go up to 154 to middleweight. But him going up to 168, that is out of his reach, and I really do not think he can make that weight. And if he does go up to 168 and beat up David Benavidez, Rolly Romero is one of the greatest fighters of all time. But I really do not think he was being serious about going to 168 and fight David Benavidez, because if he does, Rolly Romero right now fights at 147, then he have to go to 154, then 160, then 168, and if he was really serious, he might as well just challenge David Benavidez at 175. Because Rolly is already going up all these weight classes. Was one more. Maybe he knew that David Benavidez will not go down to 168 to fight Rolly Romero. So Rolly already wants to weaken David Benavidez. Even if he weakens David Benavidez, I still think David Benavidez will beat the living ish out of Rolly Romero. And I believe Rolly is a very strong fighter at 147. But I believe Rolly was just acting. Everybody knows how Rolly does. He just talks a lot of shit and just talks out of his A. And he actually says that he wants to beat up David Benavidez because every single boxer is scared of him. And he says that he's the Mexican monster, but Rolly is the boogeyman at 147. But when Rolly was saying all of this, I think he was on something. I think he was heavily medicated on that bud. And I don't even think David Benavidez will take Rolly seriously. The weight class is just way too much. And Rolly is not the most polished boxer, because he did start boxing late and he did not really have an amateur career. But I heard he was in judo, so he was already in a contact sport before he even entered boxing. So he had like some skill. Hey, but Rolando Romero, kudos to him, because he is the fastest rising star ever and the fastest to become champion and to sell out arenas and make a lot of money on of pay-per-views. But Rolando Romero also adds that he wants Terence Crawford to beat the living ish out of Saul Canelo Alvarez, the real face of boxing. And Marco asked him why does he want Crawford to beat the living ish out of Canelo so bad. So Rolly answered because of what happened during that fight. Canelo put on a terrible performance and he added insult to injury and said that Canelo Alvarez was a disgrace to boxing because he does not know how to cut off the ring. But you can just tell Rolly was just in a bad mood. Every time Marcos actually asked him a question, Rolly kind of gave him a dismissive response. And Rolly added that he was mad at Turki Al-Sheikh because of the way he treated him leading on to the Ryan Garcia fight. He said that they did not promote the Rolly versus Ryan Garcia fight and they just promoted the Ryan Garcia versus Devin Haney fight, and he believed that was very disrespectful, and I believe that myself as well. And Rolly also said that Turki Al-Sheikh gave everybody a room and they did not give Rolly a room, and he believes they were just using Rolly as a pawn. But he says that he will give Ryan Garcia the rematch, and in the rematch he's gonna beat Ryan Garcia even worse. But Ryan Garcia is gonna have a rematch with Devin Haney, and he's gonna have to go through Devin Haney again, and he beat the living ish out of Devin Haney the first time. But Rolly versus Ryan Garcia might not be the same the next time, because that version of Ryan Garcia, I believe Devin Haney could have beaten him. Shoot, I believe the version of Ryan Garcia that beat Devin Haney could have beaten the version of Rolly, the one that beat Ryan Garcia in New York City. But I believe Rolly was just on meds and he was just talking out of his A, because I really do not think that Rolly wants any smoke with David Benavidez. David Benavidez will murder Rolly. So I really think Rolly was not telling the truth on that, but he was telling the truth on Canelo Alvarez. He really believes Canelo Alvarez is a disgrace to Mexican boxing. Now, I believe David Benavidez and Canelo Alvarez both can beat Rolly Romero, and I'm just wondering what Canelo and David Benavidez are gonna say to Rolly when they hear this information. But that's all, folks. Remember, I ain't the biggest, I'm the baddest. And if you wanna hop on your boy, throw a dollar at the super thanks. I got a roll. Peace.
I shook up the world! I shook up the world! I shook up the world!